that a breakup?
I think we have a situation right here.
On the Feeling Station.
Hello?
Hi,
Hey, what's happening?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing exceptionally well. Thanks for asking. And yourself?
I'm all right. Exceptionally well. Much pressure. I'm good.
Good.
Yeah.
First thing I need to do is give you a massive thank you because as we spoke just the other day, I mentioned how the message you sent in the DM couldn't have come at a better time.
Okay.
And
all
so
right.
without going into too much detail, thank you for that.
It's all good. It's
right.
my pleasure. Yeah.
Now, for those who are listening to this podcast for the first time, it touches on breakup stories that people would like to talk about with a view to give you, the listener, a lesson that you can learn from. And one of the reasons why it's been very successful and continues to do well is that we do our best to try and keep people in the episode anonymous. And that brings me to the exciting part where I need to give the name that you're going to go by for the duration of this episode. Are you ready?
I'm curious.
Are you ready
okay.
for that?
Go for it.
So, I'm giving you a name that comes from North Africa. It's very common in
Okay.
Morocco, Algeria, and Libya, and it's used by
Okay.
the Berber people, which is a really small group of indigenous people of Northern Africa, and they speak what is known as Afro-Asiatic languages.
Okay.
And your name, a bit of trivia for you there.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
and so your name is Lunja, which is
Lunja.
Lunja, and that means fairy tale princess.
Oh, nice.
Now, a question for you. Would you describe yourself as a fairy tale princess, as a person?
Not a fairy tale princess, but an actual princess. I mean,
Real life princess in the house,
not a
ladies and
fairy
gentlemen. That's great. Well, you have the option of either calling yourself Lunja during the course of the episode or shortening it to something like Lulu, whichever one you find easier to manage. Now, this is the interesting part for me is to ask you what you want to call the guy you're going to talk about during the episode. Have you got a name?
Okay. Funny enough, the person is from around that part of the world.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So,
Okay.
but I didn't know about the specific tribe that you talked about.
Right.
So,
Okay.
so I was thinking about it the other day, and I have no idea. I don't know, man. I could call him Ali. I'll say Ali. Let's stick to Ali.
That's a really good name. And very easy to remember as well. So this episode is about Ali and Lunja.
Yes, it's about Ali and Lunja.
Let's go into the lessons. What would you like people to learn from what you're going to tell us today?
Man, there's a lot of lessons. So I myself learned a lot. So that's the reason why I'm sharing it anyway. So I feel like we're going to get into the lessons as we go. But like the main lesson that I learned and what I would want people to really take away is to know yourself and to stick to your values, and that's it.
Okay.
Right. There's so many things in between, but then for me, that was the main thing which I came out of it, and I was like, oof, okay.
So before we even get too deep into the story, can you confidently say that you know yourself now?
Not really. I think it's a process. I think when people talk about taking care of yourself, having your alone time and all that stuff, I think it's because as people we evolve. Because at the time when I was in the relationship, or even when I was 16, I'm very different from who I am right now.
Oh, yeah.
So as people, we evolve, we change. So this is why it's so important to take time out by yourself and ask yourself, oh, okay, why did I do that? Why do I not like this? Why do I like that? So as people, we evolve. So I'm not really the same person, but then my values have still stayed the same.
Oh, yeah.
So in my values, yes, I know myself when it comes to that, yes.
Okay.
But when it comes to me as a Lunja, I keep evolving, man.
Yeah.
Like it's an ongoing process. So
Nice. Thank you. Thanks for
Yeah,
that.
I can. Yeah.
Let's go straight into it. So, Ali and Lunja, where does their story begin?
So Ali and Lunja. So what happened was Lunja was this girl who was still in uni at the time, and basically most of her relationships were based on, are we vibing or not? And this vibing was more like was like, can he dance? Like when we dance, does he get what I'm doing? Are we in the same rhythm? This was
wow.
it. Like that was it. Very, very relaxed, very, So, but
that's very different to what I'm used to. I've spoken to a few people who had a checklist, and the checklist had a good 5-10 items that somebody needed to tick. But yours is quite simple. Does the person know how to vibe? Do they know how to dance? And that's it.
Yeah,
wow.
I mean, there was also that's where the values come in. So, because I had my values, but then I said, these are my values, but then I don't have to put them onto someone else. This is what I would think, right? Okay. But then, I mean, if you want to be in a relationship with someone, that's still important, right?
Okay, cool.
So, Lunja went to a party. Of course, the rhythm was
good.
The same, yeah. And then I didn't put much thought into it. I just saw this guy. Yeah, he's nice. It's fine. That was it, and I forgot about it. And then next thing, my friend was saying, yeah, this guy is asking for your number, blah blah blah. I was like, okay, that's fine. I don't mind. You can give him. The next thing, we're talking. Next thing, he's like, yeah, I want to date you. Are you okay with that? And I was like, yeah, sure. And he also made it clear from the very beginning. He said to me, you know what, right now, I only want a girlfriend. I don't want to get married to anyone. It's just a relationship. I just want a girlfriend, and that's it.
Sounds like you just wanted to vibe as well. You just wanted to vibe with the girlfriend wasn't looking for anything serious.
Clearly.
Okay.
Yeah. And I was okay with it. I was like, yeah, it's fine. Like I'm not trying to look for a husband right now as well. Right. But then that's also somewhere where I learned something, is the fact that, things change, like we change, like, because like at the moment you think that, okay, this is just for fun. It doesn't mean that a year or 2 years down the line is still going to be the same.
Yeah.
So I think initially when you actually get into something or into a relationship, at least let the most important things be there, because you don't know what life is going to bring you. You don't know what's going to happen. Like it's, like that.
Okay.
So, we started dating. It was fine. Like, so I'm a Christian and Ali was Muslim. This is why I gave that name.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So now it started getting serious, like 9 months down the line. Like we're talking. He talks to my aunt, and I talk to his sister, and it starts getting serious. And honestly, funny enough, he was Muslim and I was Christian, but he encouraged me so much to stick to my values. It was crazy. I was like, what? Like, you don't even believe in what I believe in.
Yeah.
But then he was the one encouraging me to like go to church, do this, do that. And I was like, this is crazy, right?
Yeah.
And the only problem was that he was Muslim, right? And we were now thinking, okay, if we're going to get married, will our kids now be Muslim or will they be Christian? What will happen, right?
You see, that's a very important question. And I know several friends who've had this kind of thing, come into play. In fact, the very, very first episode of this podcast had a Christian and a Muslim in there. And there were all sorts of things that needed to be dealt with. So in your scenario, who initiated the conversation about our kid's going to be Christian or Muslim? Was it you or it was Ali?
I don't remember. I think it was both on our minds. And because like I was also somehow getting closer to God, I just it nagged me, So I sat him down and was like, okay, what? This is getting quite serious. We both didn't expect it, but this is where we are now.
Yeah.
And we have to talk about it, right? Because we used to have our little debates on why Christianity is real or like the Muslim is not, whatever. But now we're like, okay, between the two of us, we are okay. Like, I do what I do, you do what you do, and it's fine, right?
Yeah.
But then we want to have kids. So how is it going to happen, right? And then he was like, he wants the kids to be Muslim. And I was like, but I want the kids to be Christian. Why don't we give them the option to know both and then decide for themselves? But he wasn't having it. So that was it. This is just how the conversation ended. So it was, we were not, there was no compromise, right? So we carried on. We were okay. We're like, okay, we'll cross the bridge when we get there. So it was already now a year and a half. And honestly, everything was going great. I just felt like this is not it, right? So everyone else was like, why do you want to break up with him? What is wrong? Like, everything is okay. And for me, honestly, I think it's just like when it comes, for example, like what I was talking about, the values. I didn't realize how much my values, like how deep rooted they were, how much I just couldn't compromise on that. And
speaking about values, can you tell me what your top 3 values were at the time, if you remember? Just the top 3.
Yeah. At the time, man, like at the time when we started dating, really, I just wanted someone who would accept me as I was. So the background was, okay, well, maybe that's also another lesson. So I grew up quite close to my uncle. And my uncle used to drink a lot. He used to go out a lot. He's just never used to take care of his family and everything. And I just grew up saying, I want to be with anyone who is just not like my uncle. So this was my basis. As long as this person is not like my uncle, it's fine.
So someone who's family oriented, someone who's there for their family.
Exactly, who works, who doesn't drink, who doesn't. So that, unfortunately, like that's it's not a good basis of anything, right? You can't say I want a person who's not like that. Like, you have to say what you want, right? And also something that's based on what you do, right? You have to align. So unfortunately for me, he was nothing like my uncle, and that was enough. And unfortunately that it just later on, when I broke up with the guy, that's when I realized, okay, this is why. Because at some point you have to ask yourself, what is the trend of the guys that I'm dating and why? And the trend I realized was I just was looking for someone who wasn't like my uncle. I loved him and everything, but I just saw so much bad out of that. I was like, I really don't want that.
It. Yeah, I'll have anything else apart from that. And I know I'd asked for 3 important values, but just that one value sounds like it was everything for you.
Yeah, that was it. Like for me, that was it.
Okay.
So unfortunately, that was that. And as I evolved with time, that's when I realized, okay, this is not something I can base it on. And I realized, okay, my faith is something that's very important for me. And passing it on to my kids is also something that's very important to me. And as much as I think sometimes that it's something that I can pass on, I really can't. So later on is when I realized, okay, I really can't pass on that. Right.
Okay. So, just going back to where you were before I asked about the values, you mentioned that you started feeling like, you wanted to leave this relationship after 18 months. And your friends were asking you, hey, why'd you want to do that? And they couldn't see that some of your values were being compromised. And the one that seems to stick out the most here is how important it was for you to pass on your faith to your child. And already the discussions with Ali we're alluding to the fact that there's no compromise between the child being either Muslim or Christian. Okay, so you want to pick it up from there?
Okay. So it was hard. So I thought, okay, I haven't, like, this is like the person who's like perfect in quotes, and they've been encouraging me to go to church and everything.
Yeah.
And now why should I break up with them? Who knows what the kids are going to like or not? Like, it doesn't really matter. The religion is also. So, I start having arguments in my head that maybe it's not that important. Maybe it's not that bad. But then I don't know. I just couldn't do it. Right. So I told him and he understood. Well, so I thought. And then we broke up. But we broke up properly. We talked about it and we said it's not going to work out. He also agreed. And that was it. Right. So then we started, so we'll talk now and then, and that was it. Then he started buying me gifts and stuff, and I was like, okay, and it was okay.
Okay.
Okay. And then I made the mistake also of getting him a gift on his birthday, right? So I guess he thought that it's okay to keep buying me gifts and everything. And then I was like, okay.
So question for you, whose birthday came first, his or yours?
Mine came first.
And so he gave you a birthday present.
No, not really. He gave me a gift of, I got a job, I bought you something. I went into the store, then I found this. I thought it might be nice. It's your birthday, here's a gift. So he kept doing the gifts thing.
Why did you accept him when he was your ex?
I don't know. Because they were nice. I don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
And I didn't want to be horrible because I thought, okay, it's fine, right? I was saying, yeah, thank you. We talked for a few, and that was it, right? Then at some point, okay, the mistake that I made was then also sending him a gift on his birthday, right? Because also I felt bad that he's getting me all these things.
Yeah, so let's probe into that. So you got him a present because you felt bad that he got you all this stuff?
I don't know. I don't know if I felt bad or I wanted to get it for him.
Do you think you wanted to get it for him? Let's just
maybe
touch
I
on that.
actually wanted to. Yeah, maybe I wanted to get it for him. I guess because it's I think that's also something that I learned is that if I'm no longer with someone, there is no need to. Like, I don't know. Some people can. For me personally, I don't think it's possible to be friends with your ex because sometimes, like, just drawing the line is a problem. Especially if you talk regularly. I guess the happy birthday, happy Easter, Merry Christmas, it's fine. But if you end up having to talk every other day or once in 2 weeks, it was too much. So I guess for me, I needed that time apart from him, which we didn't have. And because we didn't have that, I still liked him, because I was with this guy for like 18 months, right?
Yeah.
So I guess I got him that gift because of that. And then I saw that it wasn't helping me, I kept thinking, oh, it was so nice. Oh, why did we break up? And then I saw that it wasn't helping me and he kept getting me gifts. And I told him, well, I guess the way that I did it was bad because at first I told him, please stop getting me gifts. I'm really trying to move on and this is not helping. And like, I'm trying not to ignore you when you send me messages, but please, don't, right?
Yeah.
Then he'll just send again and say, no, I know you've always wanted that and I can afford it now, blah, 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 blah. So, and he knows like, I can't say no, but well, I didn't. So he did that again. And that was like a period of a whole year when this was happening. And the following year, I was like, okay, you know what? This is really, when he sent another gift, I told him, okay, you know what? Right now I'm talking to someone. I am in a relationship. I really wasn't, but I just said that I'm in a relationship and my boyfriend doesn't appreciate you sending me gifts, blah, 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 blah. And he was super upset about it. And he's like, oh, you are such a, yeah. He was swearing at me and whatever. And he was like, you probably were also cheating on me when we were dating, all those things. So he was like, he just...
He was livid. He switched.
Yeah, he just switched. Like he just went from like this super nice guy to like I have never heard him say all those words he was saying to me. And I was like, okay, this is just, I didn't even, like, first of all, we're not dating. And I don't know if I led him on by accepting the gifts, maybe.
Yeah.
Or by talking to him, though it wasn't regular, but maybe it gave him some hope. I don't know.
Yeah,
So
it probably did. It almost sounds as if your guys' love language was the gifts. Giving and receiving gifts. And I mean, you loved receiving them, you loved giving them, and it was probably exactly the same. So as far as you guys were communicating and keeping in touch, just adding that special touch to what you guys are about was giving hope, I guess.
Yeah,
to
probably. Yeah, probably. But I don't know. For me, I found that weird, and I also saw like a side of him that I didn't know existed.
Yeah.
And I just realized that this is something that could have popped up later on, and I couldn't have done anything about it.
Yeah.
Because I would have already been in it, right? And before that, during the relationship, I just remembered that he would have these outbursts of anger, and I would, it would be actually scary, but then I just brushed it off. And then when this happened...
So it sounds like there were kind of tiny little red flags of that.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, they were. But then at the moment, I just thought, no, he's just upset.
Yeah.
But then now I'm like, this happened like so many times, and I just ignored it. And then this one time it happened, he was so mad, and he was calling, and he was shouting, and he was doing all these things. I was like whoa, okay, this is crazy, right?
Yeah.
And so that's also something which I think I wouldn't have been able to handle in the long run. And also was a lesson for me not to ignore things. Like even the small stuff is so important, because in the end, if you're going to be with someone in the long run, how will you deal with those outbursts of anger? How will you deal with, because now you're going to be with this person for like, I don't know, who knows how many years, and they've got anger problems, and you have to deal with that. How are you going to be able to do with that? Because for me, I deal with things by prayer.
Yeah.
And in the first place, if I get into something against what God wants me to do, how am I going to go to God and ask him to fix it? So
it's interesting that you touched on that, because I've spoken to a few people who've said, well, I've seen a flaw in my partner, when we were dating, and I ignored it. And that flaw always seems to become more exaggerated the longer you're with someone. Yeah. It's as if they become less shy to hide that flaw that they have. And so in your situation, things could have easily gone really, 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 really bad.
Yeah, they could. And I also learned to like trust my I don't know if it's intuition or I don't know what it is. So in as much as I broke up with him and everyone around me was like, why did you do it? I think it's also important to just trust how you feel. Right? Some people call it intuition, some say it's the Holy Spirit. Whatever it is, if something feels wrong, it probably is.
Yeah.
It really probably is. It doesn't matter what anybody says, because in the end, it's just you and the person.
From what you've told me so far, it feels to me like your intuition had spoken to you about the issue regarding compromise on the religion. It also feels to me like your intuition was talking to you about the tiny outburst that he had. What did your gut tell you about other stuff? Is there other stuff that that your gut kind of spoke to you about, but you didn't pay attention to?
For me, I had decided not to sleep with anyone till I get married. And the first person I slept with was this guy. And the only reason I did that was because I was so tired of being asked, like, oh, have you done it? Have you not done it? Have you done it? Have you not done it? And he was one of the people
who was asking you these questions.
My friends.
Okay.
So my friends, or people I called my friends at the time. And he was the first person to be like, you know what? This doesn't matter. It's nothing. So also that was something that I felt like I just should have just followed my gut, because at the time I was like, you know what? I'm not like, if he says I'm just a girlfriend, there's no need for us to get into it anyway, because this is just for fun. Why does it have to include that? And then he was just convinced me otherwise, and then I did it, right? And also, maybe it's not on him only, maybe it's myself, because I was just tired, and my gut was like, doesn't matter. But sorry, please bleep out my name.
No, I will. Don't worry, I'll bleep that out. Don't worry, I'll sort it out, Lunja.
Like Lunja, it doesn't matter. And because of that, it just happened, right? Of course, it's no big deal, whatever. But then at the time, it was something that was very important for me. And till today, like, even if people minimalize something that you find very important, I think it's so important to just stick to it. So my gut told me, don't do it, because you don't want it to happen now. You know, like, no one else should convince you to do something. You convince yourself, and if you feel you want to do it, but not because someone else says it doesn't matter. So that's also something I ignored, and it took me a while actually to get over it, because I didn't listen to myself. I didn't listen to my gut. So that's also something which was important to me, and I let it go.
I need to ask this question. So you decided that you're going to sleep with him, which was you breaking one of the values that you had. Oh, by the way, we've got 3 values now. Remember, we were looking for 3.
Oh yeah.
You didn't want somebody wanted to be like your uncle. You didn't want to compromise your faith, and you also didn't want to compromise your stance on premarital sex. So you guys had sex the first time. Okay.
Yeah.
You obviously felt a type of way about that, because it may, I suspect it played on your conscience and on your value system. Now, at that point, you had a decision to make, either to have it again or not to have it again, based on your values and your faith.
Yeah.
Did you decide to do it continually, or you just stopped at that point?
We did it again, and then I told him how I felt about it, and he agreed. He's like, yeah, okay, it's fine. And he knows how I feel about it, and he got it. But then also, this is when the little anger outbursts would come. It would be like, so why are you here if you don't want anything to happen? Or like, it's just a lot of things. It's like the whole, I'm a man, I need this, blah, blah. And it just, at some point I was like, okay. So we didn't live near each other, so it wasn't so much. But then when I would see him, or when he sees me, like, it's okay. So we lived near each other for a period. Then he moved to go work somewhere else. So when he started working somewhere else, it wasn't a problem. But then when we were, for the year that we were living near each other, it was a problem. Because I had to continually explain to him why, right? So I think it was just a collection of too many things, which I just was like,
this is all very interesting, because if you are starting to have little anger outbursts as boyfriend and girlfriend because you said you didn't want to have sex anymore, what would have happened if you guys decided to get married, and perhaps on a day that you're really tired and you're not into it and you can't do it and you deny him? What would have happened? It just kind of scares him to try and imagine what would have happened.
Yeah, it is scary. It is scary. But then, I mean, at the time you're thinking, okay, when we get married, then he will have it, then we won't have this argument. So like, you have this rationale at the time to say, yeah, we're not married now, but when we get married, this is how it'll be. Then this problem is gone.
Yeah.
So at the time, you're not thinking of it like that.
Interesting. Well, I'm sorry I took you on this huge detour. You're still telling me about the very first large outburst of anger that you saw that made you feel a certain type of way. What happened after that huge outburst? Yeah,
that was the first and the last. So after that, I blocked him. No, he sent me a message, and I sent him a message, and I just said, okay, you know what? I'm sorry if you feel this way and you think that I'm like this, but I am just going to stop communication with you, and that's it. And then he told me that he's going to look for me, blah, blah, blah. Yes. I don't know. I just blocked him, and he went all the way to LinkedIn, started sending
LinkedIn,
messages. Yeah. So it was mad. It
That
was
is
crazy because
crazy.
yeah, I was like, okay, so I had to change passwords for everything because he
Yeah.
knew my password. So I changed passwords for everything.
Mhm.
He went on LinkedIn. I had to change my password for LinkedIn. I had like everything. And I don't know, I just blocked him and that was it. Like I just stopped. He tried to look for me through my friends. They had to block him and then that was it. I just
So hopefully by this point your friends understood why you decided to do
yes.
what you did. The penny
Absolutely.
started dropping on the other end.
Yeah, they did. They got it. But then but that's the thing, like at the time he seemed perfect. I also didn't like, of course I didn't look at the small outbursts, but then now when I see the bigger outbursts, that's when I'm like, oh, okay, so it could have gone worse.
Oh, yeah.
So
Oh,
that's
yeah,
when
yeah.
I was like, oh, okay. So they were also shocked. They're like, but we thought you said he's nice, but then he was actually nice.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I just ignored I guess maybe he wasn't nice and I just didn't see the small little outbursts or look too much into it.
So I mean, I know your list was really, really, really short at the time. Where you'd say that all you want to do is just vibe, right?
Yeah.
Just vibe. And now we know that
Yeah.
to Lunja, there's actually a lot more than just vibing. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
You've got to think about the family-oriented side. You have to think about her
Yeah.
faith. You
Yeah.
need to think of the fact that she recognizes that things change and people
Yeah.
change, and that foundations need to be laid
That's true.
at the beginning. If you were to bump into Ali today, and I'm assuming you haven't bumped into him,
I'm scared.
really?
I'm so scared. He
That's
lives.
that's the question I was going to ask. To say, would you be scared? Would you be okay?
Yeah, I'm afraid. I'm really scared. Like sometimes, because he lives like very near the city where I live. Because I moved. I got a job near the city where he lives.
Mm-hmm.
I'm afraid. I am so scared. Sometimes in my head, I'm thinking, oh my God, I feel like he's going to spit in my face, or I don't know. I'm so scared.
How long has it been since you guys broke up?
I think it's been like 3 years.
That's a long time, though. So
yeah, it is.
I would hope that within a 3-year period, he would forget stuff, and you would also forget stuff.
No, I don't know. I just don't want to meet him. So this is like the the big lesson is just that just don't get into something without taking it seriously. Even if you think you just want to play, just don't get into it. Because like, in as much as this happened such a long time ago, I am still scared. Like I still go through periods where I start treating my partner where I have now, and I'm afraid of him because of things that would make Ali mad. I'm scared that it's going to make my husband mad. Then I don't do it. And he asked me, why would you think I'll get mad over that? So I still have that thing where I'm like, okay, I probably still need help. So like, even if you think it's something for just 6 months or just playing, like we human beings are very sensitive. Like we might think that we're not, but then these things really stick with you. Like I'm still dealing with that.
And I guess that's why there's a word known as trauma, because it's real, and if it's not dealt with, it hovers and lingers in places that it doesn't need to.
Yeah, it does.
So, do you feel like you have some trauma?
From
Ali?
Yeah. I think I have from a lot of things. I think, for example, like what I was saying, I didn't want anyone like my uncle. I think something that I should have been able to talk about with someone and be like, you know what? He's like this, like that. I don't like it. And I'm close to him. And I feel like this about it. And then I get to talk about it with someone. And then initially you just stop the problem from the root. Like, why would you get into a relationship with someone like that in the first place? And then I go on to then say, okay, now that I'm there and I did it, I have to deal with the problem of being with this person and what it did to me. So like, I think also things that happen to you, like at home, in your family, all those things which you think don't matter, those things really matter, because maybe that's the root of everything else that ends up happening.
Yeah. Okay. Now, because we try and draw out lessons on this podcast, I'm going to try and draw out a lesson which is a bit unusual to what this podcast is about, and it's about dealing with trauma, right?
Yeah.
You are 3 years out of the relationship with Ali, right? Which is what I think is a decent time to be away from a problematic situation.
Yeah.
On a scale of 1 to 5, how easily accessible are therapists? 1 being, they're not accessible at all, and 5 being they are very accessible where you are.
Okay, so where I am is a country where we speak in a different language.
Yeah. Don't say the language.
Yeah. So, I can speak it, right? But then it's the way you express yourself when you speak a second language is different from the way you express yourself when you use your mother tongue. So there is 5 definitely help for that, but then it's a 3 in terms of the language. So I've looked into getting help, and it's a 3 because I'm going to be getting in my mother tongue. Shona English, whatever, Debele, whichever. So, but I'll be doing it online, right? Because there's no opportunity to do one-on-one in the language that I only speak in.
Okay, that's very interesting, because what my question was going to lean into is that if these services were accessible on a level 5, and you hadn't had the opportunity to do so because maybe you were scared, I was going to ask you to share some of the challenges you've had in getting that help. In case there are people who feel the need to get that kind of therapy and assistance, but are just scared to do it, I was going to ask you to share some of the secrets that you may have to encourage them to get that help. But now you've clearly explained that the language barrier issue makes it a little more difficult to express yourself, but you don't actually have a problem looking for that help.
No, I don't. I'm actually was looking into it, and I could share a link of what I'm going to wear. So it's like a Christian organization, but they can help even if you're not a Christian, because I think sometimes you just have to get help for things that you've gone through that you don't even know you need help for. So, so work in progress.
Well, great. Thank you very much, Lunja. This has been an interesting episode for me because, like I said from the beginning, you came in just in the nick of time. So thank you so much for that. And just to recap on the lessons that Lunja shared with us, first up, she said, know yourself and stick to your values. The 3 values that she considered very important was getting with somebody who was not like her uncle. Her uncle was a drinker, wasn't really in touch with the family. So she wanted a non-drinker. She wanted someone who's family-oriented. She also wanted somebody who shared the same faith with her, because the difficulty she started having between making the decision for their child to either be Christian or Muslim. And then the very last one for her was to maintain her virginity, which she was not able to at the time, but it was still important enough for her to actually consider living the relationship. So know yourself, stick to your values, lesson number 1. Second lesson that she shared was that things change. People change, situations change. And if you don't have a foundation that is set up on those strong values, it is bound to deteriorate, like we saw between her and Ali. Third lesson, don't ignore things, even the very small ones. She noticed that he was having tiny outbursts of anger here and there, pay them no attention, until the big one that came through. And that still filters into what she does and what she feels as a person. That touches on trauma. If you're feeling a bit of trauma, try and get help as soon as you can. If there's no facilities to do so, get in touch with me. I might know a few people who might be able to give you help with trauma that you might have. Fourth lesson she shared was trust your gut. And the last but not least, right, is don't vibe if you can avoid it. If you can avoid just vibing and going with the flow, just don't do it. Is that right?
Don't do it. Don't do it. Just don't do it.
Yeah. Well, you've been listening to another episode of The Feeling Station. I'm your host, Tinto. I look forward to catching you next week. Peace.
Tell me what you're feeling.
Satis on Daro Raini and Chake Zain.
Tell me what you're feeling. Now that it's over.
Satis on Daro Raini and Chake Zain.
Let me talk about my feelings. Let me talk about my feelings, yeah.
rudo imoto runoto kuchidzirwa mai.
Kuchidzirwa amai. Love is a fire.
Rudo imoto runoto kuchidzirwa mai.